Hello everybody and welcome to the first day of training at soapui Fine. In the first tutorial, in the first day, we'll just look at the introduction to the web services. I'll not be talking about Soapui in detail because many of you will be confused regarding a web service. What basically if a web service is? What does it do? How Soapui can be used with web services? Fine. What an XML document is. So I'll talk about all these things today in the first module. Alright, if you look at my website soapui.tutorial.com, you will see that there are around 20 modules right now. Many more are coming, so we'll be discussing them in the training. Alright, so now let's start with the training. Right, the first thing which I'll come up with is the topic what is web service, and then I'll take up many more topics. Alright, so I'm sorry. What is a web service? Look, these days a lot of things are being done over web service. Okay, to understand what a web service is, you need to understand what XML is. Alright, now suppose giving you a very simple example. Fine, suppose there is a banking system. Okay, the system is like this, that this is the user who is having a debit card, an ATM card from say Bank of America. Alright, so there's a user who's having an ATM card from Bank of America. Alright, he goes to an ATM machine. That ATM machine is actually from HSBC ATM. Right, so the user having Bank of America card goes and puts his card inside the HSBC ATM. He provides all his details, that is, this is my name, this is my PIN, and this is the amount which I want to withdraw. Okay, and this is the account type, whether it's a current account or a savings account, whatever it is. He provides those details in the ATM. Now the HSBC ATM will have to contact, obviously, Bank of America, and HSBC ATM will have to coordinate with Bank of America for the withdrawal process. Okay, HSBC ATM will be sending some information to Bank of America, and Bank of America in return will tell whether to give the money or not. Okay, now obviously Bank of America cannot ask HSBC ATM to go into their systems and find everything. Alright, and along with that, Bank of America and HSBC, both of them want that the communication should be very stable and secure. Alright, now this type of communication which is out here, where both the entities, they don't want to disclose critical information. Number one, they don't want to disclose the critical information, and number two, they want the transaction as well. Okay, so this kind of communication can be done with the help of web services. So what an HSBC ATM can send to Bank of America, it can send something known as an XML document. Alright, it can send an XML document like this, that is, say XML is created like this, transaction details tag. So XML always works on tags. Alright, so transaction details tag will be there, and whenever you create a tag, you close the tag like this in XML. Inside it, I can put the transaction details, that is, suppose bank name. Bank name will be HSBC, and then this tag will close. Bank name tag closes. Then suppose the PIN will be customer, the next tag will be customer PIN. the PIN code which was entered, the numeric PIN code, the security PIN code of the ATM card which the customer entered, something like this. Okay, and uh, suppose the third parameter can be amount. Fine, and amount tag also closes here. So this is a very basic example of an XML document. This XML document can be sent by the ATM to the Bank of America, and Bank of America, when it receives this, it comes to know, fine, this is the customer PIN code of the ATM card, right? Maybe it will also send some customer ID, right? Something like this, or whatever it is which is retrieved from the ATM card, right? So Bank of America will come to know that fine, HSBC ATM has sent me this information that this is the customer ID of my customer, this is the PIN code of his card, and this is the amount which he obviously wants to withdraw from the ATM. Fine. So it will validate the information and send back another XML to HSBC telling it whether the transaction is successful or whether the transaction should be successful or not. Fine. This is a very simple XML file which I have made, but the rule is that in XML you have got tags, and each tag opens up and each tag closes, right? And XML forms the basis of a web service. This will be a web service. This will be an ATM web service in which an ATM is interacting with the bank system and giving the information of the customer to the bank. Alright, I can save this notepad file in an XML file. In double quotes you can save it. You can save it like request.xml. Fine. So on the desktop you will see request.xml being formed. I can open the request.xml in a browser. In a browser it will look better. Hold on. I'll just open it in the browser. You see that? This is the request XML which will go from HSBC bank to from HSBC ATM to the Bank of America. Fine. Bank of America can validate stuff and it can return you back another XML, something like this. Again, the tag like transaction results. Okay. And inside this you can have a tag like status success, right? Then it can tell you balance left in the account, which you can present to, which the ATM can present to the customer in form of a receipt. So it can tell that fine, say $4,000 are left in your account now after this transaction. Alright, so it can send an XML like this back to the ATM, and when ATM sees that fine, status is success which is coming from the bank, it will release the money. Fine. So you can save it as a response, whatever is the response from Bank of America. So this is your response XML. You can open it in the browser. It looks neat. Fine. Okay. So this is a very simple example of web services. Right, in a web service you send a request and you send request XMLs, you get response XMLs, alright, and this makes the whole system very secure. HSBC ATM actually never goes inside Bank of America's system, and Bank of America's system never actually goes inside the HSBC ATM. Both of them exchange an XML document between them, and both of them actually communicate with each other with the help of XML document. Alright, so this makes the complete process very simple. So this is what an XML is, and this is how an XML can be used in case of web service. Okay, rather XML is only used for a web service. Why XML is used? Because it makes the stuff very simple. You see how simple an XML was. Alright, fine. Giving you another very simple example. Fine. Suppose there is a website. Alright. There is a website for insurance. Right. And the website say is for basically car insurance. So there is a car insurance website. Alright. You have to go to that website, enter your car details, and this website actually will contact various vendors who provide car insurance. Alright, these vendors are basically insurance companies. Suppose this is insurance company number 1, insurance company number 2, insurance company number 3, insurance company number 4. So customer, he never knows these companies. He simply goes to the insurance website. The customer, he goes to the insurance website and hold on. He provides the details like the model of the car, right? How old the car is, fine. Say how many kilometers or how many miles the car has been driven. Okay, so he provides all this information to the website, and the website will send this information to all the providers, the insurance providers, to get a quotation. That fine, this is the customer who wants an insurance for his car, and please give the quotation. So these insurance companies, they will have servers. Their servers will send back the quotation, obviously. So this communication will be done in form of an XML document. In the XML document, the car details will go inside various tags and all like this. For example, you can have a request XML like this. Say car details, model, say BMW 5 series 2008 model. Say distance covered. It has covered so many miles. Alright. So this information will go. Please remember to close all the tags. Right. I'm just giving you a sample example. So this kind of XML can go to the each and every insurance company, and each and every insurance company can send you back another response XML having their respective quotes, and those quotations can be shown to the customer. Okay, so that's what happens when you go to any travel site and you actually try to book a ticket, and you want to book a hotel. Suppose you want to have a hotel reservation in any tourist place, so you get number of hotel lists coming in front of you. Each will have its own set of pricing, own set of details. So all these things, they happen over XMLs. Fine. An XML document is sent, an XML document is received, and this complete scenario is known as a web service. Web service is implemented using XML. Fine. So this is clear, right? Why an XML is used and what is a web service. Right. Now, when you are using XMLs and when you are doing web service, the most important thing is security. Nobody should be able to read the XML data when you are sending it from one server to another server. Right? And another important thing is uniformity. Uniformity means that the two systems which are communicating with each other, they should know the tags. These are known as XML tags, the one which I am highlighting. It should not be that customer pin is a tag which is understood by Bank of America, but this tag never comes up in the request. Alright, so there should be a uniformity. Fine. So that's why we have got protocols in web service. We have got protocols like SOAP protocol. We have got a protocol like REST protocol. Then there is HTTP as well. There are a lot of other protocols, but these are the most famous ones. Earlier SOAP used to be famous. Now these REST is getting famous. What these protocols do, they define a way, they define a kind of discipline through which the request and response should go. Okay, so these protocols, they define how your XML request and how should be formed and how your XML response should be formed. Alright, so these are the two famous protocols, and WSDL. In case of a SOAP protocol, we have got something known as WSDL, which is full form is Web Services Description Language. This is a document which tells that what kind of request and what kind of response will go. Alright, for example, if I go to Google and just type sample WSDL service, go to the first link. Yeah, this is a sample WSDL. You will not be able to understand this right now. Okay, it's basically an XML document which describes how your request should look like. Fine. And what kind of response is expected. So in case of SOAP protocol, we have got something known as web services. It's a document which describes the web service. Alright, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about in detail. Okay, now I never talked about SOAP UI. Now I'll tell you about SOAP UI, how SOAP UI is used. Look, in order to test a web service, it's not necessary to use SOAP UI. First of all, you can write your own Java code or own Ruby code or your own Groovy script code or whatever it is, whatever language you have, you can write your code and you can test a web service. Alright, you can test a web service easily. But with SOAP UI, your work becomes very easy. Alright, now if you want to learn SOAP UI, then there is a language known as Groovy script. This is more or less than Java. Internally, when you write Groovy language, behind the scenes, it's Java engine which runs. Alright. Now Groovy is a very easy language. We will be studying Groovy in this course. You cannot learn SOAP UI without learning Groovy. Don't be afraid of programming. It is very easy language. Alright. Don't be afraid. You will be able to grasp it very easily. Fine. So you can also write Java code and use the Java client API of SOAP UI. I'll talk about it. Hold on, just be with me. Right. So now about SOAP UI. It's a tool made by a Smart Bear company and it's a very effective tool to test web services. If you go to the website soapui. Hold on. Go to the SOAP UI website, soapui.org. Fine. Now there are various versions of SOAP UI which are available. You need to understand those versions first. Alright. If you go to the downloads page, fine, you will have these three links: download SOAP UI trial, download SOAP UI and download SOAP UI Pro. Okay. Now as far as SOAP UI is concerned, when you go to the download SOAP UI, this is the free version of SOAP UI. It's not got all the necessary features which are there in the paid version. Alright, but it can actually help you learn SOAP UI to a very great extent, and many people, they just work on SOAP UI free version only. Alright, apart from this, you have got Soapui Pro. This is the paid version of Soapui. It's too good. It's got a lot of features in it. Sorry. And this trial version, which is on the top, is actually the trial for this Pro. Fine. This trial version out here is actually the trial for the Pro version. And the trial is, I think, for 30 days. Okay, so in this course we will be working on Soapui open source, that is the free version, as well as the pro version, and you will actually see the difference between both of them. Alright, so now this is about the Soapui free version, right? Soapui pro version, and both these versions will be using Groovy script. Alright, apart from that, there is a Java API for Soapui. If you don't have to use the Soapui IDE, right, Soapui, install it on your machine, you download the Soapui. I'll tell you how to download it in some days. Fine, you download it and install it and use the IDE and all that stuff. If you don't want to do it, right, for example, many times people, they want to integrate Soapui with Selenium, right? So if you want to do that, it's better that you use Soapui. Hold on, I go to Soapui Java docs. You use Soapui Java client API, which is out here. Now this is a little confusing and you need the knowledge of Java language for this. I will be covering this in the training. Fine, don't worry. Okay, so there are various flavors to Soapui. I don't think that Soapui is a single tool. You can use Soapui open source version, you can use the pro version, or you can use none of them and you can simply use the Java API, which is free for everybody. But this thing requires you to be a little technical. Alright, okay. Now protocols which are supported by Soapui, there are three major protocols which almost everybody works with. One is REST, one is SOAP, and one is HTTP protocol. Alright, apart from these there are others as well, but these are the three which are used a lot, and especially these days the REST web services are becoming very famous and everybody is using Soapui to test out their REST web services. Fine. So how should you use Soapui? I would recommend that go and learn the free version and open source version of Soapui first, and then you can look at the pro version, which has got a lot of other features. In free version of Soapui, you will require to code a lot. You will have to do many things manually. You'll have to code a lot and automate your complete SOAP or REST based applications end to end. Right? Many people think that Soapui is used only for manual testing. No, it's not like that. It can be used for manual, but it can also be used to make automated scripts for web services testing. Right? We'll do all that stuff. Don't be under the impression that Soapui can only be used to test web services manually. No, that is not the thing. Fine. So now to download Soapui. To download Soapui, you can go to download page and download this one. Download the open source version. You can simply download it and install it like any other software. You will have to give a valid email ID over here. Just give your valid email ID. Even in case of trial version, if you are downloading the trial version, which is actually for the pro, fine, you'll have to give a valid email ID on which the license will come. Email will be sent from the Soapui guys on your email ID with the license. Alright, but initially just download the free version. In this you don't need any license and all. You can simply download here, install it just like any other software. Okay, so that's about installing it. And these two important things which many of them, and the last one which many of you were asking me, I'll cover them now. Firstly, future of web services. Look, in coming days everything will be XML based. There are so many systems which are being developed, and there are so many systems which want to interact with each other. Fine. So obviously all that interaction and all that stuff is going to happen through web services. So this is very important. Alright. Functional testing, the tool which is getting famous is Selenium. For web services, the tool which is getting famous is Soapui these days. Alright. And web services is becoming very, very essential part of any web-based application these days. Alright. For example, if you talk about Amazon, Amazon just launched their Amazon Web Services in which they have their complete store. You can have a single XML document which you can send to Amazon.com and they will send the list of products they have in their store. Okay, this is just a very simple example. So everybody is going XML based these days. So you will have to learn web services. Alright. And how will we be going in the course? Look, firstly, firstly, to be very honest, if you don't want to do the course, if you want to learn it yourself, then you can go to soapui.org and you can learn it. If you want to do it a little bit fast track, because in this course you'll get everything readily available, we have got the open source version, Soapui Pro version, the frameworks and all, everything is there in the course. Fine. We'll be looking at the data-driven frameworks. Alright, we'll be looking at the data-driven framework using both SOAP and REST protocols, developing Excel-based reports. We'll generate reports. We'll generate JUnit reports, the HTML-based reports. How do you validate? How do you connect to database? Do the validations from database? We'll be learning Groovy scripting. So all that stuff which is actually happening in industry, at the industry level, I'll be teaching you that. Fine. How to email the reports and all that stuff I'll be talking about. Fine. So now, any questions from your side? Yes, Raj, definitely I will go for practical based training. Look, this training is not something which will be done with the help of any PPT or something like that. I'll be actually working on tool and I'll be explaining you. In the first class, I just told you about web services because most of the people are not clear with what a web service is, what a SOAP is, what REST is. Okay, web service is, it's a kind of technology in which you pass the messages over XML documents, right? The protocols, SOAP-based protocol, REST-based protocols, they help you to standardize these XML documents, right? The way a REST protocol should work, or the way the XML should go, request XML should be formed, right? All that stuff. Okay, so we'll stop here.